Greetings brothers, today we're talking about the Vindicator Laser Destroyer. We're going to check it out against the Predator Annihilator and a few other things, just to see how good it is in 9th edition. So welcome to the weekly tactics video. I'm John, the Blood Angels Commander, and every week we have various Blood Angels content on this channel. So today we're going to find out just exactly how strong the Vindicator Laser Destroyer is on the tabletop, and make sure you stick around till the end of the video because we're going to compare it against just about every other option that we could really consider for our Blood Angels list, and I hope you're going to get some great value out of this video. So let's look at the Warscrolls, and there's only two real differences. In the Vindicator has 2 inch less move with a 10 compared to the 12 of the Predator, and the Vindicator has the toughness 8 compared to the 7 of the Predator. So apart from that, everything else is pretty much the same. The Vindicator obviously has a heavy 3 volley cannon, and then the Predator can take the turret, twin link las cannon, and then 2 sponson las cannons. And if we put the Stormbolter on to the Predator, then it's exactly the same points as the Vindicator. They both come in at 175, and they both have the option to take Smokescreen or Hunter Killer Missile to add a little bit more. So I thought this would be a really interesting comparison in that the Vindicator has that laser volley with the 3 shots, 36 inches, and obviously it can do a lot of damage. We'll cover damage in a minute. And the Predator will have those 4 las cannon shots, slightly longer range at 48. So we're going to start on the survivability of the tanks, however, so let's get straight into that. So for the Mathhammer, what we do is we factor out the roll to hit. So in this table, basically, if you see, for example, the Vindicator needs 132 bolt rifle shots to be destroyed, we've factored out the roll to hit. So once you've hit it 132 times with bolt rifles, it will be dead. So the Vindicator with the toughness 8 against the Predator with the toughness 7 is only going to make a difference in some situations. Obviously the bolt rifles will be harder because they'll be wounding on 6s, and then stuff like multi-meltas or thunderhammers that would normally wound maybe on 3s would be wounding on 4s. So the Vindicator is going to be ahead a little bit in terms of survivability, and you can see from this table it's stuff like bolt guns, bolt rifles, then your strength 8 weapons, multi-meltas, power fists, thunderhammers. These are going to be a little bit ahead in all these, but I mean, it's not massive. So Predator, Vindicator at this point, I mean, you could almost choose either of them. So, but what I've done next is like I've jumped in and we've added some other options that I think are quite competitive as well at the moment in 9th edition. So the 2 options that I think are the real competitive ones here are our Redemptor Dreadnought and our attack bikes, right? We know that these things provide a lot of value on the tabletop, so I've just put them down there so you can see how this armour will compare. I mean, if you think about it, a Redemptor Dreadnought with the Onslaught and the macro is coming in at like 180 points, with a Stormbolter as well. So, or 2 Stormbolters actually, because it's got 1 on each side. So 5 more points, which is the cost of the additional Stormbolter anyway, and then that's against the Vindicator and the Predator. So you can kind of see that, I guess the small arms fire, there's not so much difference, but against like the bigger weapons, then once the Duty Eternal starts kicking in, the Redemptor will be more survivable, and this is probably one of the reasons that I really like Redemptors. However, Redemptors don't get smokescreen, so I mean, you have to factor that in as well. And then attack bikes with just their toughness 5 and their 3+ save, and you know, if you run 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas, you're 165 points, so about 10 points cheaper than both these tanks. And in terms of raw survivability, it's going to be very similar, bearing in mind with the attack bikes, sometimes weapon damage will be lost when a model is killed, so there may be additional bit of survivability there as well on those bikes, but it's really hard to put that into numbers because, you know, we have no idea what you'd be overkilling with in any given situation. And then finally, I also wanted to throw in just the regular Vindicator in here because it is quite a bit cheaper in terms of points, and it can take a Siege Shield now for 10 points, which gives it that 2+ save against range weaponry, and in some situations, again, that will actually provide a lot of additional survivability, in that, like, things like before we might not have got a save against, like the plasmas, we'd now essentially get a save. So the Vindicator, on the normal Vindicator, is in here just so you can see how the Vindicator Laser Destroyer compares, but you know, we'll compare its damage as we get a bit further into the video. And if you are enjoying today's video or you think you're getting any value, then please click the like button. I always really appreciate it when you guys like the video. It really helps me and the channel out. So then if we look into the Mathhammer, and for the Mathhammer I've tried to include like a wide spectrum of situations. So if we start with the Laser Destroyer volley fire, We have the Laser Destroyer with its overcharge fire. We have all the las cannons. I put the Stormbolter down as shared. There's no point including it because they both have the exact same damage from the Stormbolter, but it's there anyway. And then in the final two columns, I've also put the overcharge fire if you've got Tech Marine close, and the Annihilator as well with the Tech Marine close, because some people do like to run the Tech Marine so you can awaken the vehicle. You can keep them a little bit more healthy with the Master of the Forge being able to repair 3 wounds a turn, and also granting that +1 to ballistic skill. So this table isn't going to tell quite the full story. There's definitely going to be some overkilling done, both fire of the Laser Destroyer, 4.5 average damage or 6 flat damage if you overcharge it, and then the Predators with their D6 are going to be much more swingy. So against stuff like, infantry, Deathwing, Blight Lord, even against characters potentially, you're going to do a bit of overkilling with the Laser Destroyer. I guess the one thing to say is that you are almost going to be guaranteed to make those kills against like tough targets like Blight Lord Terminators, right, which are basically 3 wounds with -1 damage. You shoot a las cannon at them that averages 3.5, you may very well end up leaving a model with 1 wound, whereas the Laser Destroyer isn't going to do that. It's just going to do essentially like, it's going to kill a Terminator even if it has a 1 for the damage roll, right, because on the volley fire it's still going to be a minimum of 4 damage. So as we go down this list, you'll see that I've starred and plussed a few things in the columns, and obviously the Laser Destroyer with the overcharge fire is going to be the most reliable, or it's going to do the most damage here. Against the Blight Lords, against the Galatus, the Leviathan, Mortarion, Land Raiders, or any other enemy armor really. Your Laser Destroyer is going to do a lot of work, and personally I love flat 6 damage weapons. In the shooting phase, if you have that Tech Marine and you're hitting on 2s, you're probably going to end up wounding on 2s or 3s, and it's great at popping open enemy transports, right? Because they just have to fail a couple of saves, and in turn 1 as a Space Marine, you're essentially in Devastator Doctrine, so your Laser Destroyer is probably going to be hitting on like -5. So basically, 1 or 2 hits is going to do so much damage that you're really going to be able to pop open any sort of like enemy transport early in the game. If you look with the Tech Marine, and if you look at some of these examples, like against a Land Raider, or even against like a Leviathan Dreadnought looks like a good example here, in that we do 5.56 damage to it. So, we can basically outrange the Leviathan, because if it's going to have anything decent to shoot back at us, like a Gravflux, it's going to be on 24 inches. We're not going to be scared of a Storm Cannon, in that he's only going to be wounding us on 5s, and it's only going to be -1. So, and if we've got that Tech Marine there to pop back some wounds as well, this could be very powerful against like a Dreadnought heavy list, or even some sort of enemy armor heavy list. And yeah, flat 6 damage is great. It's hard to really argue with just how reliable that feels on the tabletop. And coming in at 175 points, while one of these isn't going to do amazing, I think there's definitely scope in a 2K list to run a couple of Laser Destroyers. I guess maybe when you add the Tech Marine, things start getting pricey, but we're going to get into this a little bit later in the video. So for this next sheet, we're going to go over it super fast, but what I've done is I've grabbed 3 of the core choices that I see that Blood Angels players are using at the moment, and I think it's important to note that these things are core, so they can benefit from Chapter Master rerolls, Wisdoms of the Ancients, whatever, things that your Vindicator and Predator would not be able to benefit. So I've quickly worked out what Redemptor Dreadnought would do if it's got the macro and Onslaught. I've had a look at attack bikes with multi-meltas, which are like a very high value pick at the moment. They are a bit squishy, but they can dish out a ton of damage, and with their 14-inch move it's very easy to suddenly scoot into half range and then get that additional +2, so we've included that as well. And then obviously Inceptors. A lot of people are running Plasma Inceptors. Personally I don't run them. I have bad luck re-rolling ones, but a lot of people do land the Plasma Inceptors, so we're going to move straight on where we'll compare this up against the Vindicator and the Predator and just see how they stand up against these popular core options that people are running. So to fit this all in one slide, I've also included our regular Vindicator, and the regular Vindicator is super swingy, right? D6 shots, D6 damage, so I mean it could do potentially like a ton of damage, but once you actually Mathhammer out on the averages, the regular Vindicator performs kind of poorly. The Laser Destroyer, as we know, performed really decently, but if we look at it up against like our attack bike multi-meltas, And in most situations, the attack bite multi-meltas are very close. I mean, they are just 10 points cheaper. But if we are able to ever get into half range with the attack bite multi-meltas, then obviously we're going to pull quite a bit ahead. And I think this is one of their main strengths with the attack bikes, is that they're so mobile. You can maneuver them in and out of range from the enemy. You can play very smart. I'm not sure you can do quite as much with the Laser Destroyer, and there is a penalty if you move the Laser Destroyer. You potentially take mortal wounds if you roll ones when you hit. So something to think about. And then yeah, also the one thing to say about the attack bikes is at half range they're essentially, you know, they're eradicators with heavy melter rifles, right? And eradicators, we know when we looked at them a little while ago, point for point, they are literally the most damaging unit in the game. I think they are very, very powerful, and I think that the heavy melter rifle versions are amazing. I mean, obviously you have a little bit of an issue in that they can't really move effectively and shoot with the heavy melter rifles, but you know, their raw damage output, it's the best, right? It's just it's going to be better than anything else that you can put on the tabletop. And then, you know, they even beat up against the Laser Destroyer when you have that Tech Marine present. And then the Plasma Inceptors, you know, Plasma Inceptors aren't designed to deal with those sort of heavy armor things, but they will do great against infantry, maybe characters. They do not bad against like the Deathwing or the Terminators. But yeah, you know, for me personally, I run Redemptors and multi-melt attack bikes, and I think I really wanted to see the Vindicator Laser Destroyer. I was thinking that like really I might include one in my list, but when we see the numbers like this, and you know, we filter in the fact that for Blood Angels, speed is one of our greatest weapons, then the Laser Destroyer seems okay. I mean, if you have one and you don't have attack bikes, then sure, run it, I think. But looking at these numbers here, and I know the attack bikes are going to be less survivable, but the thing that I see is the attack bikes have synergy with like Chapter Master rerolls, and also the Sanguinary Priest, which is something I'm running with the Combat Revival and the heals. So right now I think I'm still on team attack bikes, but the Laser Destroyer is definitely interesting, and I think there could be some sort of strategies around the Laser Destroyer that could, you know, it could definitely win games, and it could definitely provide like a very tough toughness 8 firepower base that the enemy has to deal with. And sometimes that's what it's all about as a Blood Angel, right? Like, so as you know, I've been playing a lot of games on this channel, and I think I've actually won 17 of the last 18 games. And one thing that I've been noticing is having these strong threats, right? Like, I don't run 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, I don't run 2 squads of Vanguard Veterans, I run a very diverse army with lots of different threats, and having these threats can sometimes free up our jump pack units to do other things. And I guess within that sort of spree of 17 wins, 8 of the games were won with that list that had the super heavy tank in it. And the super heavy tank didn't always perform well. You know, in one game I actually got destroyed in turn 1 before I could fire it, but I think what it does is the opponent sees other things that they have to deal with, right? Like, you can't leave attack bikes with multi-meltas to roam around the game, the board all game, when you have like a librarian with null zone, right? Because at some point you will get null zoned and you will get melted, literally melted by those multi-meltas. So I think the Laser Destroyer could be something similar, where like if you have 2 Laser Destroyers and a Tech Marine, then the enemy will need to go in on those because they cannot leave them to survive for the whole game, because the flat 6 damage, and it will just wreck things. But in doing that, they will free up a lot of space on the battlefield for other units. And this is, I think, this is the strength to building a balanced Blood Angels list in 9th edition with a good amount of shooting. And I know people still love the Sanguinary Ancient and they still want to go very melee focused, but I think there is a huge amount of merit to getting a bit of balance in your Blood Angels lists now. So yeah, if we talk about the Vindicator against the Predator, which was the initial concept for the video, because they are 2 similarly pointed units, both at 175 with the Stormbolter, I think the Laser Destroyer is definitely my preferred choice. You know, that flat 6 damage or the minimum 4 damage if you just fire on low power will kill, you know, Terminators with -1 damage in a single hit. It will do much more, you know, reliable damage, and You know, las cannons and multi-meltas, they can be very swingy. You know, as much as I do love the multi-melta attack bikes, there is something to be said. Reducing some of that swing, you know, a d6 swing on damage rolls, etc., can be kind of important. So, Vindicator Laser Destroyer is definitely nice. I think it's definitely a usable unit. I think I will actually buy one soon. So I know some people hate it when I make recommendations to buy stuff because it feels like I'm always telling you, hey, you could buy this. But personally, I think I would buy one soon. I'm not so sure that it's going to replace anything on my list, but I think it's going to give me options for the future. I don't like the regular Vindicator. I have one with the shield, and while I do think toughness 8 and a 2+ save is good for you know, armor, it's way too swingy. D6 shots and D6 damage just means you can do from 1 to 36 damage in a turn, and it kind of seems you know, a lot of these other armies are getting new rules where damages are getting like squished and getting normalized a bit. I think that maybe if the regular Vindicator gets normalized, it could be a lot better, but at the moment, like, it's just way too swingy. Like, I cannot recommend it at all. And then looking back at the Laser Destroyer with its 36-inch range and the potential to buff it with the Tech Marine, and potential to maybe even have 2 because they're only 175 points, I do think that's a pretty interesting combo, right? It will definitely do work, and it can be very scary, and like I said, the opponent will need to deal with that. They can't leave it on the table. However, maybe there's going to be some issues with that in, you know, against like horde based lists, because it's only going to be 6 shots a turn and you're going to end up overkilling and wasting a lot of damage. I mean, maybe you could do a Vindicator Laser Destroyer and a Redemptor and get some value there. You know, like, I generally do like the Redemptors. They generally manage to survive at least one turn, right? Because the Duty Eternal really helps keep them alive. So I think maybe there could be a play where you take one Vindicator, but for me personally, I'm going to continue running the attack bikes with multi-meltas. The attack bikes with multi-meltas are very cheap if you need to reserve them. They're also core, and they just synergize so well with the Angry Priest, and the fact that the 14-inch move really gives you a ton of options. And I guess the way that I see it is you can basically use that 14-inch move to move just within 24 inches of the enemy. You could shoot out some sort of key target 24 inches away precisely, and if you manage to weaken them, or if you manage to push forward in the following turn, the 14-inch move means you can easily move within half range on that next turn. If you combine that with, like, I have a Librarian that has, you know, like a 5-inch move, then a 12-inch fly, you could potentially combine that with the second turn, you're now within half range and the enemy is null zoned. And there's a huge amount of value in that. The Laser Destroyer will have better range, you know, and it could stay a little bit further back, and I guess maybe against some things like Leviathans, where they might not even be able to be in range, or they're only in range with like a Storm Cannon, that's not really going to scare a Toughness 8 model. You know, when we talk about anti-armor, then Eradicators still need to be firmly in your mindset. Like, I've only run 1 or 2 games with Eradicators, and I don't believe I've used the heavy melta rifles, but the heavy melta rifles are just like half range multi-meltas all the time at 24 inches. And if you can't ever get them into half range, but I don't think you need to at that point, right? You just shoot at 24 inches, you try and put them in cover, you give them a 2-up save, you don't move them so you don't get the penalty to move and shoot. I think Eradicators can certainly do work, and they're certainly a very interesting squad, and potentially still maybe a little bit underpointed even with the points increase that they had recently, up to, I think it's 45 points a model, up from 40. You know, the Laser Destroyer does obviously outrange them, and the flat 6 damage, like I said, is really nice against certain things. It removes any randomness. You know, how many times have you hit Terminators with a las cannon just to roll 1 damage? You know, it's a sort of horrible sinking feeling, and usually when you re-roll a 1, it's into another 1, right? From a CP, so, you know, you have that to consider as well. So I might consider Laser Destroyer. I love the model. The one here that I showed the picture of looks amazing, and I definitely think there is some space in a 9th edition list for a Laser Destroyer. I just don't think it's in my list right now. But let me know in the comments below. You know, you guys always come up with ideas, and I think it was last week we saw a list from a channel member, and it was actually a channel member that asked for this video, where on our live show every Sunday, and when we talk about army lists, we saw some lists that included Vindicator Laser Destroyers, and we did think they were generally a very strong and competitive list. So I really hope this video helped out and you enjoyed hanging out this week. Just a friendly reminder that we're going to be live on Monday night, 7:30 UK time, for a battle up against Eldar. We're going to try and go for 8 wins in a row with the Patrol and Vanguard list that I'm running to great success. So look forward, hopefully, to catching some of you on the live stream on Monday. And if you do want to support the channel in any way, then there's some affiliate links down below. You know, you can buy some models on Element Games here in the UK using the affiliate link. You can get a free audiobook. You can join us now on Patreon, or you can become a channel member here on YouTube. And those are all very much appreciated. And as a channel member, you can obviously request future videos. So if there's something that you want to see, if there's a model that you think, hey, is this competitive? How does it stack up against our other choices? Could I get a bit of breakdown on it? Then I'm more than happy to help out with that as well. So thanks for staying to the end of the video. This week I want to tell you that we have bikes to give away. 3 of Space Marine bikes. You can use these to build your Chapter Master on the bikes. So if you haven't had a chance to do so, or you don't want to buy 3 bikes to build a Chapter Master, then potentially I can hook you up this week. Join the Discord. We're giving away some to members. We're giving away 1 to non-members, and that'll happen this week. So please join our Discord below, and thank you so much for watching. If you haven't done so already and you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, and if not, well, I guess you don't like the video, that's fine. We'll see you very soon. Sunday, live show. Monday, battle report by the Blood Are We Made brothers. Peace.